Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
In this video, we are going to be replacing the front brakes on a 2010 Honda Pilot. If you need these parts or other parts for your vehicle, click the link in the description and head over to 1aauto.com. We're going to take the tire off. Before we lift the vehicle off the ground, we're going to loosen up the lug nuts. I have a 22mm socket and a breaker bar. Crack these free while it's on the ground, and it'll be easier. If you wait till you put it in the air, then the tire will just spin on you. Loosen these up. You can take out all the lug nuts. So we got the lug nuts off, and we'll take the tire off. First, we're going to take off this caliper. We're going to use a 17mm wrench. Take off this lower caliper bolt. Once you crack it free, you can generally take it out by hand. Break the top one free. There you go. Once those are out, we can take and shake the caliper back and forth a little bit. That'll compress the piston a little. And then pull this aside. All right. Slip our bungee cord through here on the spring. Hold the caliper, and we can put it out of the way. Next, we're going to remove our pads, but there's these little springs that keep tension going out on the pads. We're going to pull these off. And then right here, take these out. They're like pad springs. Next, we'll remove the pads. Pull those out. Now we're going to take the caliper bracket off. We're going to use a 19mm socket and a breaker bar. Break these free. Once you broke them free, then you can switch to a ratchet. For the upper one, I need an extension to get past the strut because the strut was in the way. Now that those are loose, I can just do it by hand. Pull the bracket off. All right, so next we're going to take these screws out that hold the rotor on. Sometimes these can be difficult. You could try it with a screwdriver. If it doesn't work, you may need an impact driver. What you do is you stick this on. You're going to make sure it's set to loosen. So for this one, you push it down and turn it to the left. Then you know it's set to loosen. And what you're going to do is put the correct bit in, hold it, and you're going to tap the back with a hammer. And that'll loosen the screw. And then you can take it out with a regular screwdriver. Do the same with this one. Just tap it, and spins it free. Take these Phillips head screws out. Grab the rotor. It's pretty tight. Just put a lug nut right there. We'll grab a hammer. We can hit it right here, 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 all around there. And that broke some of the rust free and popped it off. Take the lug nut off. And we can pull the rotor straight out. Here's our old brakes. Here's our new brakes from 1aauto.com. As you can see, the pad configuration is the same. All the tabs are the same. The squealer is on the same side. The friction material has the same. As you can see, the rotor, it's machined the same way. The holes are the same. Flip it over. It's the same height, same size. Get yours at 1aauto.com and you'll be ready to rock and roll. I'm going to pull this caliper slide out. This one's sticking a little bit. Just grab it with some channel locks, pull it back and forth. And pull back the dust boot. Oh, there we go. We'll pull this one off. This one's coming off much easier. Use a little brake parts cleaner. I'm going to put it in for the guide pins. And use a little paper towel and clean it out a little bit. Take a little bit of brake parts cleaner on the guide pin. Clean this off. Take a little bit of brake caliper grease. Put a little brake caliper grease on the guide pin. Slide it back in. Make sure the boot is clipped on. Now we're going to clean the pad slides. We'll use a wire brush. Clean these up. You can also take the pad slides off. Use a screwdriver, pry up, right here and right here. Check underneath, use a little wire brush, get a little bit of the rust off. Clean right there on the caliper bracket. Can reinstall. Push back on and do the same for the other side. Now we're going to take a wire brush around the hub. A lot of the rust buildup was around this area right here. So we want to take the wire brush and get all around in there. Now we're going to install our rotor backwards because we're going to clean this surface. Take some brake parts cleaner around. I'm going to wipe this. Get this off because there is a coating on the rotor to prevent the rotor from rusting. Flip it over. I'm going to line up the two holes, these two holes. Just like that, so those two line up. And then clean this side with the cleaner. Wipe it with a rag. Next we can install our Phillips head screws that hold the rotor on. Put that in loosely. You really don't want to tighten these up too much, just snug. And that's good. Next we'll install this caliper bracket and our two 19mm bolts on the back side. Next I'm going to torque these bolts, the 19mm socket. For the top one I have to use an extension because the strut is in the way. So we'll torque these to 101 foot-pounds. For the bottom one I can just use the socket and the torque wrench. Next we're going to install the inboard brake pad. Use a little bit of brake caliper grease on the ends. And then some grease on the back side of the pad. Stick this on here, right there. Alright, we'll put a little more brake grease on this ear of the brake pad, and then a little bit on the back side, just like that. Install the brake pad to the outside, just like that. Before I put the caliper on, we have these brake pad springs. I'm going to put these on. Just slip it into the holes like that. One there and one there. We can take our brake caliper, slide it on. Put those bolts. There we go. Install our caliper bolts. Now we're going to torque these with a 17mm socket and a torque wrench to 53 foot-pounds. We'll torque the top one. Next we're going to mount the tire. Take the lug nuts, install the lug nuts. I'll snug these all down by hand with the socket. Next we're going to torque these lug nuts to 95 foot-pounds. We're going to do it in a star pattern. You want to do that so that the wheel gets torqued down evenly. The next thing we want to do before we drive the vehicle is we want to pump the brake pedal. As you can see, it almost goes all the way to the floor. And then you pump it a couple times and it should be good. What that's doing is there's an air gap between the caliper and the brake pads. So when you're squeezing that, that squeezes that air gap away to where it's supposed to be. And then you'll be good to go.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.